how it goes. Web development hiring process, right? The hardest step is honestly probably the first step, where recruiter basically picks you from your resume. So we did resume meet. We filled up our resumes. Now, my advice for this stage, honestly, is called spray and pray. Very technical term, right? It's just a numbers game. Apply as much as possible to different jobs, whole range of jobs. But as boot campers, you'll most likely end up front end doing React. That's just kind of the nature of the game. That's the first step, and that's honestly the hardest step, getting picked. The next step, right? So this is the initial screening, usually like a 15-minute phone call. Nothing technical. So in my experience, this is really just going through the qualifications with you, making sure you meet everything, asking you if you're a U.S. citizen, if you're over the age of 18, kind of checking that you have like basic social skills, that you're a real person, right? Largely, this is not about eliminating you at all. Let me mention this as we get into this. Everything I say, there's going to be exceptions to, right? I'm just giving you the most common patterns, but literally everything, there's just going to be exceptions to. This whole process, there's going to be variation. So with that being said, although the initial screening is really just a check that you read the qualifications right, and you have some of those very basic qualifications. This smart woman from the last cohort was very honest, and she told me that she actually was eliminated in the initial screening once for one of her jobs. I found that pretty surprising, and not based on like, oh, they want me. I thought it was remote, but I had to work in person. Like nothing like that stood out. Just they just didn't go forward with the process. I wasn't there for the phone call. I don't know how it went, but she is like a bright, socially adept woman. So I don't know what went wrong there, but it is possible you can get screened out in the initial screening. Questions on the resume or the initial screening phase? Okay. So the next phase is really the meat, right, of what we are practicing and care about. So this is the technical interview. Again, I'm going to give you what's most common. This is around 4 hours. When I was going through the technical interviews pre-COVID, they were in person. You would meet with 4 different engineers at the company, and they would ask you coding challenges, right? Stuff we're going to start working on capstone every day. And obviously stuff we've been working on every day of this boot camp, right? Yeah, this is honestly, in my opinion, the real, well, like I said, getting picked in the first place from your resume is by numbers is probably the hardest, but this is like the actual, should we hire this person? Do they have the technical skills? And this is what we're practicing for every day. Okay. It used to be you would write code on a whiteboard. It's called whiteboard challenges, right? That has gone away for the most part. Although Sadiq, weren't you saying Sadiq is not here. Uh-oh. Again. I got to check in with him because he's a team leader. I think Sadiq mentioned that that he actually had... Did anyone catch that? That he actually had to write on a whiteboard? Super unusual from what I've gotten from students and, from the community and stuff. But still happens. Now it's mostly on Zoom and you're presented with a challenge and you use VS Code like we're used to. Also very unusual about Sadiq was he was asked all data structure and algorithm questions, which web development has kind of shifted away from. But at the most traditional companies, the most conservative companies like financial, what's the phrase? 500? What's that phrase? The companies that
Fortune
are on
500.
Fortune 5. There we go. Fortune 500 countries, or companies, excuse me. That might still be the process. Although I did Expedia, which is pretty big, pretty up there, and there was no data structure and algorithms. So even the biggest companies, I think, are shifting away from this. Any questions on technical interviews? Although this is what we're going to be practicing every day in Capstone.
So lead code wouldn't be something for web dev people. That's more for like backend, like Python, stuff like that.
So lead code, if it's data structures and algorithms, which I can't remember off the top of my head, because there's a million of those sites, then no, that's not where I think you should spend your time.
Okay.
What I think you should spend your time on is simple JavaScript functions. And that's what we're going to spend our time on in Capstone. Other questions? Okay. After that, let me mention here also, this is possible. Coding challenge. They give you something to take home and you have to build. One time I had to do like file streams in Node. I did not get the job. I was very new and it was very difficult. This is common though. This hasn't gone away. And this can be right after they pick you for, I'm sorry. This honestly, probably this will be, can I not pick multiple things? There we go. After the initial screening, most likely you can get the coding challenge. Okay, after the technical interview, you have a behavioral interview, I guess I'll call it. And this will usually be with like kind of like the CTO, someone kind of high up, usually. And it will be around an hour and it won't be technical. Although there's always a possibility they'll have you describe things. In all of these phases, that's possible that you'll have to describe projects you've worked on. But again, this is, if you pass the technical interview, this is more, I don't think, it would be a little bit uncommon if you really did well in all the other phases to be thrown out in the behavioral interview. This is just kind of like you're hearing about the company, you're meeting your future boss or your boss's boss's boss situation. And yeah, it's less likely that you'll be filtered out in this step, in my experience. Any other questions on that? And again, this is every one of these steps can change. Okay, so how are we going to practice technical interviews, right? I think I'm going to use ChatGPT to generate a whiteboarding challenge. So generate an easy JavaScript whiteboarding challenge. If you were up today, I would ask you to code out reversing a string. But let me show you the process together, right? So what you want to do is have a folder. You can call it whatever you want, but maybe mock technicals. And we're going to cd into that. And we're going to open that up. Basically, the idea is I need you to screen share and be able to run JavaScript code. I know it's been a while doing that outside of React. So what I recommend, there's two options, but perhaps the easiest is just creating an index.js file. And then console, I'm going to ask you to console.log like ready. And then how do we run JavaScript, right? How do we run this JavaScript? It's been a while, huh? Calypso?
I kind of forgot.
Yeah, it's weird, right?
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is use Node, and we're really NodeMon. So we're going to run this file with NodeMon index.js, and then we see ready. So when it's your turn for your mock technical, I'm going to ask you to screen share, and this is the setup I need, okay? So before we can do anything, I need to see this. You're ready to go. So please get this ready to go. Like actually practice doing this step just to make sure there's no hiccups with NodeMon or anything.
Are you letting us use the browser to run JS, or you just want it?
Just like in a real interview, you can ask me, and if it seems appropriate, like, I don't know, if it seems appropriate at the time, like you could even explain, like, at this point, if I was working on this challenge, I would Google this and get this information, and if that seems appropriate to me, then I'll say, go ahead and let me see that process.
No, I mean running the actual JS code in the browser so that you can, for example,
Yeah.
Objects.
Absolutely. So this is option one. Like I said, in my opinion, probably the easiest, but the browser does have a better console. So if you want to run the code there, you can do that. If I can remember, right? What is this? Index.js. So now we run this with live server. Yeah, and we're ready to go, right? Ready? So either of these two approaches is completely fine. Maybe if we're even doing a challenge with objects, this might be better. So we have a good view of the console, the better console.
Are extensions allowed? Like there's one that's called Code Runner. I'm not sure if we can use that.
It's probably like Quokka.
Yeah,
totally. It's totally fine. But you need to be ready to go, whatever your process is, right? I really don't want excuses. Just like the interviewer in real wouldn't want excuses if they told you their process. Like I don't want 5 minutes of setup. I expect you guys to, I expect the word ready to be right away, right? Okay, assuming that all went well, let's just pretend we're using the terminal here. Yeah, so option one. So then I'm going to give you your prompt. I'm going to tell you, like, write a function reverse string that takes a string as input and returns the reverse version of that string. Do not use the built-in reverse method, right? And then you're going to actually have to solve this. But here's the strategy I recommend to frame your kind of thinking and plan of attack, right? So this I'm going to call, this we're going to use an acronym called REACTO, or sorry, just React. We're not doing optimizations this cohort. So the R is going to be repeat. So Linjay, in your own words, how can you repeat the prompt to me? And this is pretty simple, so it's a little silly, but just to practice. Yeah, how can you repeat this prompt in your own words?
It's been a while for JavaScript, so I don't know.
No, I'm asking you just to repeat this, the prompt.
To repeat it?
Yeah. So the interviewer tells you the prompt, and then in your own words, you say it again so that there's no misunderstanding or anything.
Oh, so you want me to repeat it like
in your own words? Yeah.
Okay, so you would like me to make a reverse string without using the reverse method.
Awesome. Okay, the E stands for edge cases, which for this example, it might be a little strange. It might not be applicable. But here you say things like, well, I'll turn it to you guys actually. What do you think are some possible edge cases to this function, Farhan?
So we're taking a string, so it's not going to be a number?
Yeah, is it always a string? How about numbers, right? That's a great edge case. Anything else you can think of, Farhan?
Special characters?
Yeah. Okay, the C is asking clarifying questions, which honestly is a little bit similar to edge cases. What would it be for here? I guess things like, is it always a string? I don't know. Can you guys think of anything else for clarifying questions for? What else?
Like,
Yeah, go ahead.
completely reversed, or is it like it's like the whole word is backwards, right? Not that they want the
that's a good one. Whole word backwards. What about a sentence? Maybe. Yeah. Oh, and here is where you can do sample input and output, which I actually think is really important. So what's a sample input, Ritu, for this prompt?
So you mean passing into the parameter?
Yeah. What's a possible input and a possible output for the eventual function you're going to write?
So the input would be a string and the output would be a string. So something like hello, Hackmyhead, so the input would be a string, and then the output would be like hello or any words, any strings, Hackmyhead.
Oh, I'm looking for a very specific one example. So what the input's hello, what is the output?
Okay, so the output would be hello in reverse.
Yeah. Is that correct? Okay, then C is for code. So here, what I recommend is called stubbing out the function. So can you help me stub out this function, Maureen? Basically give it a name.
Do we declare the string?
Declare a what?
A function. Like let's.
Yeah, so we say function and then what's the name? Yeah, so we got lucky. Our interviewer actually told us what to call our function. We don't even have to think about it, right? And then I'll put the parentheses and the curly braces. But what do we have any inputs and what data types are they? Zubida?
Yeah, we have inputs and there are strings.
Yeah, so one input and its data type is a string. So what's a good name for our parameter?
We can't name it the real word we want to reverse.
What's the name? What's a good name for this variable?
Can't we name it the real word we want to reverse?
I'm not sure what you're saying. Just I'm asking for a good parameter name.
Strings, str.
Yeah, str is great. Yeah. Because its data type is a string and it's just one of them. Yeah. Okay, and then what I recommend doing is just console.logging string, make sure this function works. And then here, I think you should right away try to invoke it. So how can we invoke this function, Ketzerin?
Reverse string and parentheses, and you can put put hello in there.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of our ready, and I see hello. So now we're in a very good position to actually code. Does anyone want to take a shot at it, reversing a string?
I can try.
Sure.
Okay. So if we're not using reverse method, then there's no need for the split method, which turns it to an array. I'm assuming we're avoiding that. So what we can do is just use the inherent string property where everything is indexed already. So what we would do is do a for loop. So I would create a for loop and let I equal 0. And what we want to do is we want to say, actually, no, sorry. I should be str.length plus 1, I think. And then I is greater than str length. Sorry, minus 1. I equals str length minus 1.
On which part?
On the beginning, when, yeah, it should be minus 1. And then from there, colon, so it should be I minus minus.
All right, let's just console.log I, make sure we're okay. What do we expect to see, Farhan?
So we should expect the numbers from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So what we should expect is 4 and then backwards. So 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Okay, and we didn't get anything. So we have a bug, which no problem at all, right? Your interviewer will want to see how you solve bugs. So let's see how you do it, Farhan.
Okay, so it's str length for. Oh, are we? No, it is console logging, so it's not a matter of return.
You want to phone a friend, or?
I do want to phone a friend.
Who do you want to phone?
Everyone.
Phone everyone?
I think the issue is going to be with the str length condition. I think you're going to want while I is greater than 0 instead, because you're basically starting off at.
Oh yes.
Either you're starting off at -1 of the string, and then you want to keep going until you hit the 0 index. And then
okay, we have 4, 3, 2, 1, Daniel. Is that good or not good?
You probably want greater than or equal to 0 then, I think. Yeah.
It looks good to me. Okay. You want to take it back, Farhan? You phoned a friend?
I phoned a friend and they were helpful. Thank you. friend. So now what I want to do is, so before the for loop, I do want to store the variable. So I would say, in this case, let reverse string or reverse word, because I'm assuming it's just going to be a word, not a sentence. So let reverse word to just declare it. And then from there, what I would do here is now reverse word equal plus equals str square bracket I. And then after the for loop, return reverse word. And then in line 28, we would console log reverse string hello. Undefined. Okay. So what's happening here is at one point it's undefined. Huh. So in that case, when you declare on line 21, do we want to declare it as an empty string?
Yeah, let's try that. And there we go. So hello, and we got hello, whatever. Do you want to try another word, Farhan?
Sure. Can we try a sentence, maybe? Hello, my name is Tom.
Okay, and we assume that demonic phrase is good to go. So yeah, that's it. That's the process, and this is what we're going to practice every day in Capstone. So what questions are there?
What would you suggest we do if we're like in the middle of the coding? Because it could be kind of intimidating sometimes to do this in front of people. Like, what would your suggestion be? Like, if we get stuck, we don't really know where to go. Like, how do we kind of save ourselves, or how do we salvage the situation if we do kind of like get a freeze or lockup?
Yeah, just remember, like, freezing, feeling like you have nowhere to go. It's totally acceptable. It's how you go from there. So you just try different things, right? You try different approaches. But don't give up, right? Don't press the red button, which I actually had people do on me for interviews. Just try a different approach. But honestly, the best you can do is to avoid freezing up is to practice a hell of a lot before the interview. So you saw how I'm going to generate questions for the whiteboarding challenges for Capstone. So you should just go here and just practice. So just you can use this exact phrase, right? And maybe you'll get lucky and you'll have the exact one that I generate for you.
During interviews, don't they also let you use Google if you need to, or sometimes the interviewers will like kind of hint you towards the right way?
Yeah, we just talked about that with David. So yeah, if you are basically like, oh, at this point I would Google this specific thing for this information, some interviewers might say, okay, go ahead and do that. I want to see your process. Yeah. Some might not. And you still let people. Yeah. If it was appropriate. Okay. Any other questions?
How would you rate me?
You passed. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You passed. Yeah, you would have gotten a thumbs up. Okay, how are we on time? Pretty good.